Hey everyone, this is Jay, also known as jaynemesis on eToro, where I am a popular investor. This is our weekly update for week 16 of 2018. Our weekly stats this week, we have a portfolio change of plus 4.93%, a realized profit of minus 1.53%, and 41 trades closed in total. Our top news this week, EOS has been listed on eToro, which is super exciting for me. I've been a big fan of EOS for a long time. I met Dan Larimer last year. I've been a part of the community for around 6 months or so now. And I really see a pretty bright future for EOS, as you'll see later on in the video when I talk about the potential effect it could have on Ethereum. So hopefully we can make some good profits out of this as we head towards the launch of the EOS mainnet in June. Netflix had their earnings call earlier in the week. Reed Hastings spent some time talking about the effects that Facebook has suffered from during their crisis surrounding privacy, and how immune Netflix is to that kind of problem, since they do not have any advertising of any type. They also spent some time talking about content, which is what they spend most of their time talking about in their earnings calls. And they're pretty happy with the results they've seen from some of the local content that they produced over the past few months. And they will be upping their budget and increasing it to $1 billion for content localized in local languages such as Spanish, Italian, and over in Turkey and other regions around Europe. Overall, pretty bullish on Netflix. I'm currently, sitting on the sidelines a little bit, waiting for a better opportunity to invest some more funds. Verge finally got around to launching their partnership, or announcing their partnership. They collected 75 million Verge tokens, which is around $5.2 million, for what was described by the people at Verge as one of the biggest partnerships in crypto history. It turned out that the partnership was with Pornhub. Again, there's some pretty mixed reactions to this online, but broadly speaking, it appears to me that this is a pretty shoddy announcement and very, very poor integration. There were lots of complaints that Verge on Pornhub was not working correctly, and that the integration was incredibly basic and something that could have been done without spending so much money, although we don't know how much money was actually spent on the partnership. In a quote from one of the researchers from Monero, Sarang Noida, he said that it indicates that you can make a deal with Pornhub if you pay millions of dollars. He also said that it is not an endorsement of Verge's technical value. So again, more outcry about the actual technology behind Verge and how sketchy that seems to be. For me, I said that this would happen. I said that the price would drop massively, and to be honest, I didn't even think there would be a partnership announced, but there was, so I'll give them credit for that. Regardless, not a big fan of Verge, so if ever it comes to eToro, or if any of you guys are thinking of investing in it, maybe do a bit more research into what's going on there. The final piece of news for this week is IOTA. So IOTA I've not spoken about for a few months now. It's been a bit quiet. They had a lot of problems with their wallet, but they do appear to have been focusing very hard on really building out some proof of concepts that utilize the Tangle and utilize their solution for cryptocurrency. So we've seen them working with the likes of Fujitsu and Bosch, but this week they announced a partnership with a company in the Netherlands for an electric vehicle charging station. The charging station effectively allows the car to autonomously pay for the power that it takes from the station, and even for the station to do the opposite and pay for power from the car, so the car can send power back onto the national grid, which is a really cool idea. It's an innovative little solution. I'll wait to see what happens with it, but it's good to see these kind of real world use cases slowly building up for IOTA, especially after the damage that it had earlier in the year. On to our crypto recap. I've closed quite a few red positions in Bitcoin this week, some really substantial ones actually. This is part of my ongoing strategy to start moving funds out of Bitcoin and into altcoins that I think have more potential. EOS has been on a massive rally recently, but I still think that the potential is there for it to grow much, much more than Bitcoin or pretty much anything else really in the second half of this year, certainly, as we move towards its launch in June. So I closed a couple of red positions. I closed a lot of green positions as well, so it's not too bad. I think they actually roughly cancel each other out. It's just the oil positions that didn't help us as well. The same thing has been going on with Ethereum and with Dash. I've been closing some of the green positions to free up some funds to better rebalance. Although I think I'm pretty happy with where both of those are sitting at the moment for the most part. So I wouldn't expect to see any more closes there soon. All the trades that were closed in those, I believe, were green trades as well. And finally, we have Stellar. So Stellar is something that I really want to increase exposure to. It's performed super, super well for me so far this year. And I'm still pretty bullish on how it's going. You know, they seem to be doing really well with their competition with ERC20 tokens recently. So you can build tokens on top of the Stellar network, the same as you can on Ethereum and many other networks such as EOS. And these seem to be becoming a little bit more popular recently as developers have started to really explore outside of Ethereum due to the scaling problems they have there. So I'm expecting to see some good results from our crypto portfolio now that we've kind of transitioned out of this bear market. Although again, still expecting perhaps a week or so of things calming down a little bit. We've had a nice rally up to where we are now. I personally would really like to see some sideways movement as we just kind of prepare and everyone regains themselves and the market calms down a bit. So let's talk about stocks. There's a lot to talk about this week. AMD is my biggest position currently out of all of my stocks, and they have their earnings report coming up this week. I do feel like I've been a bit let down by how well they've performed, considering how strong their CPU lineup with Ryzen was. I really expected them to do better with that, so I'm hoping to see in this earnings report coming up some strong improvements in their sales for both Ryzen and Epic. If not, then we may well have to start cutting some losses. And also, even if they do well and the price does go up, which I think it will, but perhaps not as much as I was originally hoping for, I think I will definitely try to reduce this position size a little bit, regardless of if it goes up or down. So we'll see how it goes. I honestly don't know which way this is going to go. Of course, they did release some new Ryzen CPUs recently. I haven't really done too much research on that yet. I will be doing that this week as well, hopefully before the earnings report, so that I am better prepared and can position us accordingly. Oil, I closed 2 trades in oil. These were both heavily in red. I did not expect the Syria situation to happen at all, to be honest. And it has not helped oil prices at all. Obviously, there are other factors at play here as well. But I figured that it was time to cut out of 2 of my big loss positions. It was a pretty difficult decision to make, and I'm not really very happy with my performance there. But I've still got 2 more positions open that I'm okay with keeping open, since it's a much smaller part of my portfolio, and it's a useful hedge to have in the portfolio. And of course, we are getting paid for holding that short open, so we're not paying anything for it. We're actually getting paid for it. So I'll probably be keeping those 2 open for a while yet, although we'll see how the situation unfolds with oil. It does seem like it could start to head more towards a bull market soon. Or, well, continuous bull market. Microsoft, they have their earnings call as well approaching. I think they're going to do pretty well. I think that their strategy overall as a company has really been strong since Nadella took over. He has shifted the focus onto cloud and Microsoft as a services-focused company. And although we've seen them cut many departments and many cool and exciting projects, I think Microsoft have really streamlined and are delivering very well in those areas that they are focused on. So I expect that this will be another pretty safe return during their earnings report. They've been performing quite well in the markets recently anyway during this turbulent period. So I hope to increase my exposure a little bit. Netflix, we already touched on a little bit earlier. Again, strong earnings. I'm waiting for a bit more of a drop before I pick up some more positions, perhaps after earnings season is over. We'll see how it goes. I've still got a little bit of exposure at the moment. Closed a couple of trades for some profit, but nothing all too exciting. Nintendo is a fun one. It's not one that I trade very often. I saw a really good opportunity with some TA to make some profit, so I just went in there with 1 position, made 2.5% profit in 2 days. without any leverage. So, it's just a nice trade, I guess. And I put it in here because I guess people may have asked me if there was any fundamental reasons for that investment, but no, it was just opportunistic. Spotify is another one that's pretty exciting. Their earnings isn't until May, so they're towards the tail end of earnings season. I see them with a really bright future, as it says here in the presentation. I think they follow a business model very similar to Netflix, and as such, it is very strong. Like Netflix, they have a bit of a monopoly in the market. It's going to be interesting. It could be pretty volatile once that earnings report comes out, because no one really knows exactly what to expect and how they're going to do. But I'm actually pretty bullish on Spotify. Finally, we have Twitter. So Twitter is another stock that I've been getting back into again recently. I actually shorted Twitter when it first came out onto the markets and made some good money from it. But towards the start of this year, I really changed my mind on Twitter. I've seen them working hard to monetize, to improve their service. And as we've seen with Facebook, I think there's some good opportunities for Twitter to benefit from that. I think broadly speaking, they're quite immune to what's been going on with Facebook as well. So again, we'll see how it goes. I want to make sure that we've got some strong positions in there as we head into earnings. On to our realized trading statistics for this week. So a total of 41 trades closed, 33 of which were profitable and 8 of which were unprofitable. Average trade profit was 3.2%. Average trade loss was 30.2%, and our most traded instrument was Bitcoin, closely followed by Dash. Our total profit this week was, realized profit this week was minus 1.53%. So let's zoom out and see where that leaves us with our performance. As you can see, March again was a horrible, horrible month. We really did not do very well during that month, but April is looking like we're on a strong road to recovery. This is the third week in a row now that our portfolio overall has grown, although not realized, of course. I added this second row below with the help of my good friend and colleague Jesse, who worked very hard on this. So now you can kind of see with a bit more detail exactly what's going on with the portfolio and where these gains were made and losses were made. So you can see that week 13 was terrible, but week 15 pretty much negated that week. So it's looking good. We're on a track to recovery. I would be pretty content if the month ended where it is now, and we just sort of stabilize a bit. And I think that's reasonably likely. It just depends on how earnings goes overall. Earnings is the big thing that can really make or break April for us. I wouldn't say break so much, but certainly it could really make April big enough to reverse what we had happen in March. So where are we going? As I said, earnings season is upon us. We've had Netflix already. There's a lot more to come, some of which I care about more than others. Google, I have a couple of positions in. Their earnings report should be out in a few hours. AMD, Microsoft, Twitter, all pretty big earnings reports for us as well. They're all due this week. There's plenty more coming next week as well, but I will update you guys on that in the next video. Of course, the really big news, as I mentioned at the start, was EOS being added to eToro. I'm incredibly excited about this. I will be shortly posting my latest blog post on my crypto portfolio outside of eToro. So if you haven't seen my last one, go check it out. It's pretty good for inspiration. And I must say that it's performed really very well during this down period. So I actually made profit even though the entire crypto market was going down without using Tether or any sort of US dollar or euro or pound pairings at all. So my crypto portfolio has done very, very well. So the more of these altcoins that we can get onto eToro, the more I believe that I can help generate even better profits for you guys. And finally, of course, what other cryptos are coming? That's the big question now, I guess. I would be hoping to see something like Cardano heading on soon, and I think there's a lot of potential for any sort of other ERC20 tokens. Now that we know that EOS is on there, we know that they can support ERC20 tokens. So perhaps we could see things like Golem and Augur, which are two other projects I really like. Who knows really, but I'm optimistic that eToro are badgering away trying to list as many new cryptos as they can for us. That just about sums it up for this week, guys. As always, follow me on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. Keep up to date. I've recently changed how I do my Twitch streams, so it's a bit more Q&A focused now, and it's much easier to make sure that if you ask a question, it gets seen and answered during the stream. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week.